everybody, welcome back. I am Christy. It's Memorial Day here in the States. There's Steve. Just a few things before we dive in. I had a comment about my graphics with the cars in front of the house. It's not supposed to be to scale. I don't know how to make it to scale exactly. I'm just making those to help you visualize what people are testifying about. So most of you seem to get that, but somebody didn't, and I just wanted to clear that up. They are not to scale. It's just to help you get an idea of who said what and being able to compare those. So now that we got that out of the way, like I said, it's Memorial Day, so thanks for spending part of your Memorial Day with me. It's the official kickoff to summer. Super hot here today, so my hair is kind of frizzy. Not feeling the best. So I kind of adjusted the lights. Hopefully I don't look like a complete dead person. All right, so today we're going to talk about Allie, the Alibi, McCabe, and cool boy Colin Albert. It's not really cool. He's more cocky, but we'll go with cool. He thinks he's cool, I think. But first, we're going to talk about Allie. Like I said, Allie, the Alibi McCabe, because she is the one that picked up Colin and took him home. So this is what we heard from Allie. So she is from Canton. She's lived there her whole life. She's 20 years old. She is a sophomore in college. She's the daughter of Jen and Matt McCabe. She's the oldest. She went to Canton High School and she played soccer, hockey, and lacrosse. January 28th, there was a team dinner at her home. Then she went to her sister's basketball game at Canton High School at 6:30. We've all heard all about this basketball game, but just in case you were wondering, it was a varsity basketball game against Foxborough. Apparently it went into overtime and Canton ended up losing. I've heard that more times than I can count. Pretty sure it has nothing to do with the case, but now you know. After the game, she was driving around with two friends, Avery Plantadasi and Danielle Seaman, in her blue Ford Fusion. They came across a dog on the side of Elm Street, and since they knew the snowstorm was coming, they picked up the dog and brought it to the Canton police station. Then they drove the dog to the owner's house. She has known Colin since birth. Their families are close. They're in the same friend group. They're very close, went to school together, same grade, and they are not related, but they have relatives in common. Colin texted her for a ride around midnight. He had been drinking. She texted him when she arrived. She is Brian and Nicole Albert's niece on her mom, Jen McCabe's side, and it was little Brian's birthday, also known as Brian Jr. She dropped off her friends and then went to another friend's house. She gets the text from Colin, finds out where he was, 34 Fairview. She gets there, parks on the left side of the driveway, and in a few minutes, Colin comes out and gets in the front passenger seat. She drove him to his house, and then she went home. Her parents were not at 34 Fairview when she picked Colin up. She stayed in the car. Colin wasn't overly intoxicated. He had no injuries. She said his demeanor was normal. It was a 5 to 7 minute drive to his house, and that she got home before 12:30 a.m. and her parents weren't home yet. On January 29th, she woke up and her parents, Jen and Matt McCabe, were there. August of 2023, she had a Zoom call with two state troopers. She said Yuri, not sure, which would be Yuri Buchanan, and I'm guessing Michael Proctor, because they have been partners in this whole thing. And during that August 2023 interview, she provided her text from Colin. She had an iPhone and upgraded, of course, because didn't everybody? Everything transferred from the phone she had on January 29th to her new phone. She shows photos of Colin on February 11th. Apparently there was a welcome home party at the Albert's house for their son who was in the Marines. He was coming home on leave. There's a picture of him with Auntie Coco, Nicole, and in the library at the Albert house. They show screenshots from her phone of the conversation on January 28th. She says the times are accurate and not altered. They show the pictures of Colin taken at the Albert's house at the welcome home party from a couple weeks later. She admits that the screenshots would not show if texts were missing. She testified in Boston, August 3rd, 2023, at the federal grand jury that she got a new phone December 2022. She doesn't have her old phone. She traded it in. No investigator asked for the phone she had January 29th of 2022. Now, notice again, she testified at the federal grand jury August 3rd, and after that was when she had the Zoom call with the state troopers. And when she was on the Zoom call with the state troopers, her mom, Jen McCabe, was right there. Yannetti explains that you can change timestamps by going into settings and changing the date and time. She says she wasn't aware. You can also change the date and time of photos. Not aware of that either. And she says she didn't do that. So on cross, we find out that Colin Albert is one of her best friends. No investigator asked for copies of the screenshots until summer of 2023. She talked to troopers August 25th, 2023, 3 weeks after her grand jury testimony. Jen McCabe was there during the Zoom interview. She says no texts were deleted in the screenshot conversation, but also says we'd never know. Colin also had an iPhone. The timestamp on the messages is, can you guess it? 12:10 a.m. The golden hour in Canton. Everything seems like it happened at 12:10 a.m. She says you wouldn't know from a screenshot if the time had been edited. Law enforcement never went through or did an extraction of her old or new phone, which I don't know. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but since when are screenshots accepted as evidence? Why not just take her phone and do an extraction? It makes no sense to me. On the August 25th Zoom, she stated that she dropped Colin off and went straight home. She testified that she dropped Colin off at 12:15 to 12:20 a.m., which, if you think back to when his parents, Chris and Julie, testified, when they were talking about leaving, that Chris left Waterfall and got home at like 12:10 a.m., that would fit because they were saying that Colin got home like 10 or 15 minutes after Chris. Well, come to find out, Chris didn't get home until later than that. Chris might have gotten home at like 12:20, and then 10 or 15 minutes later was Colin. So this time doesn't fit with prior testimony that's verified by the timestamp on the Waterfall video showing Chris leave at 12:13. So she says that she got home at 12:30 a.m.-ish and stayed home the rest of the night. Her parents use Life 360 to track her location. I use it as well. Our whole family does. Even my kids that live in Massachusetts and California, I even have them on there. And it's pretty accurate. This app showed at 12:04 a.m., Allie arrived home. At 12:06 a.m., she left home. Now, with that, let me just kind of explain. My daughter had a job in town at a store, and I marked that on the Life 360 app. It's on the main road through town. So now every time, like my husband today, he drove through town. He didn't go to that store, but when he drives by it, it says arrived at that store and then left from that store. He didn't really go there. There's like a circle of the area around, and if he goes into that area, it says he's there. But you can tell because he's there and then he's gone, which that may be what happened with this 1204, 1206, arrived and left. Maybe she was just driving by in the area. I don't know. But at 12:23 a.m., it showed that she had done a 7-mile drive and the maximum speed was 42 miles per hour. At 12:23 a.m., it said she left home. 12:26 a.m., it said arrived at Canton High School. 1 mile drive, maximum speed 43 miles an hour. And then it immediately says she left Canton High School. So to me, that's an example of driving through that circle. They've probably got Canton High School plugged into the app. So when their kids are at school, it shows they're at school. So she probably drove by, like through that circle. 12:28, it says arrived home. 12:29, it says completed a 12-mile drive. Now she said at 12:30 she got home and she stayed. But Life 360 says at 1:08 a.m. she left home. At 1:30 she arrived home. 1:32 it says she completed a 12-mile drive, and that's the end of the activity. She says that she didn't alter the text messages, and on Life 360 it said turn on Wi-Fi. Now on our app, I know when I'm tracking, like if my husband's driving home from work, sorry, sometimes he won't have his Wi-Fi on, and it'll say remind him to turn his Wi-Fi on because it improves your location. But it's still the right area that he's in. It's just not super precise. But like he's on the highway between this exit and that exit. And yes, that is in fact where he is. And the times are okay. Not having on Wi-Fi, the app's not gonna, like, let's say she's home, right? So when my husband comes home and his phone's here at the house, it's not going to just magically show him an hour later being somewhere that he's not. It doesn't do that. Like if your phone doesn't move, it doesn't pick up anything. So she had to, or her phone had to have traveled somewhere after she got home at 12:30. In my opinion, as a Life 360 user. So she said Canton High School is on Washington Street. She wasn't asked for screenshots earlier because Colin wasn't at the house when John was there. And everyone really picked up on that statement that when John was there. So do you know when John was there? How do you know Colin wasn't there when John was there? Then in August of 2023, the defense brought up that he was, is what she says. That up until the defense brought about this idea, there was no need for screenshots because Colin wasn't at the house when John was there. But he was at the house that night, so he still should have at least been talked to so he could say, I was here at this time and no, I didn't see him, or whatever. And then she talks about harassment by people online, saying Colin was at the house when John was there is not true. They've been getting phone calls, emails, awful messages, people showing up at their house, emailing her school. She starts crying, kind of Amber Heard style. I hate to say that, but it wasn't real, y'all, because she recovered like that. It was like, I need a minute, and then she was fine. But I don't think any witness, any person deserves to be harassed. I absolutely do not. I don't like it. It is upsetting to think that they're emailing her school and things like that. But bringing it up, I think maybe the McAlberts, as everybody's calling them, are thinking if they can slip that into the jury's mind, that it makes the defense look bad. But at the same time, isn't it going to make the jury wonder, well, why are people so convinced that they're involved, that they're harassing these people? I don't know. I think it could go either way, depending on your perception of it. I don't think anybody's going to be happy that harassment is occurring, but at the same time, it can play either way, in my opinion. So, this is a few things I noticed in the text messages. If you look at the date at the far side of the slide, it says January 28th, 2022, 11:54 p.m. There's 2 commas and no at. And then underneath it, I have a text from an iPhone from February 17th of 2022, and you'll see it's February 17th, 2022 at 6:28 p.m. And underneath that, you can see the same thing. There's a comma, 1 comma, not 2, and an at. I thought that was strange. And then in the middle is the screenshot of their text. And I don't know where the chat bubbles are. Maybe they just weren't showing up on the copy. But if you look at the times, again, like I said, it's weird with the commas and what have you, but the date doesn't change. Like at midnight, after midnight, it didn't change to a new day. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that doesn't automatically happen. I don't know. But I thought it was odd that after midnight, the date didn't change. And then they didn't text again until like February 20th. And they're supposed to be best friends. So it was kind of weird. And then these are the pictures. The one in the back is Colin in the library that she talked about. And then the one in the foreground is him and his Auntie Coco. And they're showing these because they're a few weeks later and Colin isn't injured. Like his hands, whatever. Now, a lot of people say, you know, the brightness of these pictures, for one thing, they're saying, you know, you could fix, like if he had injuries, that could be photoshopped or covered somehow. I don't know. I just know this is what they showed in court. Okay, so now that's Allie the Alibi. Now let's move on to Colin. Oh, Colin. So I know, and you know, we all know, they've been prepped before they come in for their testimony. And not just what they're going to say, but how they're going to present themselves, right? So we've been hearing about Colin forever, since opening statements, excuse me. So when they're calling him to the stand, I'm like, ooh, yeah, Colin, finally get to see this kid. And this kid walks up, right? And I'm like, that's Colin Albert, which in hindsight, that's exactly the reaction they would want from the jury. For people to be like, no, this kid didn't do anything. So he gets up there. He's got his nice little checked shirt on. He's talking, you know, all nice. He lives in Canton, lived there his whole life. He's 20 years old. He's also a college student. He's in his junior year at Bridgewater State. He is Chris and Julie Albert's middle son. He went to Canton High School and he played football. So on the night of the incident, the night in question, he was in his senior year of high school. He says he went out, he didn't know what time, but he said it was dark. Yeah, that helps. He went out after dark to his buddy Mike's house. He got a ride there. He drank for a few hours. Then he went to his uncle Brian Albert's house because it was Brian Jr.'s birthday. He got a ride from Allie McCabe from Mike's to 34 Fairview between 10:30 and 11. Okay, so time out. Pause. Allie didn't mention that, did she? Nowhere in her testimony did she say that she gave him a ride from his friend Mike's to 34 Fairview. Because remember, it was all, he texted her and then she found out where he was and went to pick him up, right? Well, if she gave him a ride there, she probably knew where he was. And then I start thinking about her Life 360 and how they're saying she picked him up at 12:10, the magic hour. What if she took him from Mike's over to the Alberts, and then later, more in the zone of after 12:30, what was she doing till 1:30? What if she went back and got him then? Now, of course, that requires everybody that has testified before to be lying, but everybody said they didn't see him leave. So maybe it's not really a lie. Could be a lie of omission, but it makes me wonder. She didn't mention the ride from Mike's at all in her night. We had to hear about she was driving around with these specific friends. They picked up this dog at this specific street. We went to the police station. We went to the dog owner's house. I dropped off my 2 friends. Then I went to another friend's house. All of this stuff, but she forgot that she took Colin to the Alberts at 10:30 to 11 o'clock. I don't know. Something doesn't smell right. It's not passing the smell test with me. But you can let me know what you think in the comments. So he says he went in the side door to the living room kitchen area. Brian Jr., Emily, Sarah, and Catherine Duty were all around the table. He knew of the other people. They were older than him. He says he didn't go anywhere except the kitchen, dining room, and bathroom, and that he was there for 1 to 1.5 hours. And he left at, say it with me, 12:10 a.m. Of course he did. So he texted Allie to come pick him up. He says he came out in like 30 seconds to a minute after Allie texted that she was there. He left out the side door as Nicole and Brian Albert were coming in. So another pause. Nicole said she came in the front door because she wanted to take her shoes off in the foyer. And that's where she sort of crossed paths with Colin. But now he's leaving out the side door. Does it matter? I don't know. It's for you to decide. It's for the jury to decide. Allie was in the driveway in a blue Ford sedan. He can't even remember where he got in and sat. Like, he can't even say, I got in the passenger seat. He's just, I don't remember. And he says, I don't remember and I don't recall a lot. So he says he didn't see anything outside of Brian Albert's house. She drove him straight home, which was about 5 to 10 minutes. Jen and Matt McCabe's car was not there when he left. He said he goes in, his mom Julie and his dad Chris and his little brother were home. He went upstairs, told them he was home, hugs them, tells them he loves them, and went to bed downstairs at 12:20 a.m., which factually is false. Now, Julie and Chris both had varying descriptions of what Colin did when he came up to their room. Did he peek his head in the door? Did he come all the way in? Was he asking how you were feeling because of your migraine? And now he says he did this. But we know, without a doubt, this didn't happen at 12:20. It couldn't have happened at 12:20. So he lived at 7 Meadows Avenue his whole life until they moved into the condo that they currently live in. He knew John O'Keefe. He lived 2 houses away. He knew his parents were friendly with John O'Keefe. He said John had 2 adopted kids that were younger than him. Says he saw John every now and then. There was no animosity and no arguing between them. He says John was a nice, good guy. He says he never saw John O'Keefe in or outside 34 Fairview. He didn't see him at all, anywhere, January 28th through the 29th. He said he knew John was dating Karen Reed, but he had had no interactions with her and didn't even know what she looked like. So in July of 2023, he met with troopers. He gave them his text messages with Allie, the screenshots. He says that he didn't leave the kitchen, dining room, bathroom area on January 29th, that he only saw Nicole and Colin Albert when he was leaving. On cross, we find out that he spoke to his lawyer to prep for testimony yesterday. He never discussed it with his parents. I find that hard to believe. He says Lally prepped with him a month ago. Steve Nelson, the witness advocate, was there, and Sergeant Tully was there, and that they met for like 15 to 20 minutes. He says he doesn't have social media, and he hasn't seen any media coverage. I also find that very hard to believe, and here is proof he actually does have social media, because Colin Albert, 34, which 34 was his football number, 34 Fairview, Colin Albert 34, I don't know. But he posted this picture of, I guess now his sister Caitlin, or not his sister, his cousin Caitlin? Yeah, his cousin Caitlin and Tristan Morris are engaged. So congratulations to those two. But he does have social media. He says he doesn't know the last time that he talked to Allie. No one told him to say, hey, I don't know, or I don't remember if he gets nervous. Lally didn't show him any evidence, didn't show him those text messages. They met at the DA's office. He says the case never comes up with family, but the family testifies that they talk about it all the time. So I guess just not with Colin. I don't know. He asks, who is Courtney Proctor? He says she's friends with his Aunt Jill. He's been to Courtney's house 4 or 5 times. Their families are close, but not that close. They were closer when he was younger. He's shown a picture from 10 years ago. He was the ring bearer in Courtney Proctor's wedding. Courtney, brother or sister of Trooper Michael Proctor. Trooper Proctor is also in the photo on the far left. He's known Trooper Proctor since he was a little kid, knows where he lives, and says the Proctor family is close to the Albert family. So you can see Trooper Proctor, and you can see the little ring bearer there, Colin. July 2023, he was interviewed by Massachusetts State Police. He says he was never interviewed by the Canton PD. They show him his transcript. July 18th, 2023 was an interview with Trooper Proctor and his partner. The interview lasted 10 minutes. He said Trooper Proctor was nice and friendly. The interview was comfortable. It was done in the DA's office. Trooper Proctor didn't take or look through his phone. July 27th, he testified at a hearing with his attorney. Allie is his best friend. He shows them their texts. He found out about John O'Keefe on January 29th, yet there's no text until February 20th. He says he doesn't think that's right. They must have been using another app. Trooper Proctor didn't get actual texts. He never asked for them. Sorry. In September of 2023, when Trooper Buchanan asked for the screenshot, he told him he sent it to his dad, and if he wanted it, he'd have to contact his dad. He has never been asked to give his phone to law enforcement. He still has the same phone, apparently the only one in this that does. February 26th, he went to Fenway Johnny's in Boston with his buddies, and a photo was taken by event staff and posted on social media. Here's the picture, and then there's an enlargement, and I've circled his knuckles. You can see they're all banged up. But he has an explanation, y'all. He has an explanation. He says he got those injuries to his knuckles only, just his knuckles, by slipping while going down a driveway at a house party. He said he had something in his left hand, his phone, or a beverage, which I'm assuming probably a beer, and he slipped and he fell and he braced his whole body weight all on his right fist. No other injuries from the fall, just his knuckles. Now, I'm just going to qualify myself here as a fall expert. I have seizures and I have rheumatoid arthritis, and clumsy should be my middle name. I fall a lot. Never have I ever caught myself like this. Normally I fall like this, and I have broken a wrist by putting my body weight all down on my hand and broke my wrist. This kid, just his knuckles. That's it. So, I don't believe it. Even when he was being asked by Alan Jackson, he said, "Are you serious?" I don't know. If you've ever caught your entire body weight on your knuckles, let me know in the comments. I'm fascinated to hear your story. He says that he's never been in a fight. He doesn't box, but he has hit the heavy bag for cardio. And then we have a voir dire. There are two videos which Alan Jackson call Advantage Boys and Bang Bang. Colin says they're from his sophomore year of high school. Jackson asked him if saying, "I'll fuck them up and I'll beat your ass" are threats, and Colin says no. He was threatening the Advantage kids in both videos. The Advantage Boys are a club hockey team, but he doesn't play hockey. The Advantage Boys were sending him and his friends mean text messages, name-calling them, calling them pussies. So he threatened to beat their ass. He says they've never met face-to-face. He never fought with them. He never threatened John O'Keefe or fought him. In another hearing, he said the videos were from his junior or senior year, which puts them in 2021 to 2022, which is closer to John O'Keefe's death. July 27th of 2023, he was asked about his injuries to his fist. At that hearing, he shows up with open injuries on his knuckles, again, on his right knuckles. And he said, must have been hitting the heavy bag. No injuries to his left hand. He's right-handed. And they even asked him, they're like, when you hit the heavy bag, don't you hit it with both? But it just tore up his right hand. Jackson argues that the videos are highly relevant versus the sanitized testimony, and the Massachusetts State Police should have investigated Colin, and yes, it does go towards their third-party culprit defense. Allie says the door was not opened by him. There's no relevance to this case, no evidence of a fight with the victim. Colin was not there at the same time as John O'Keefe. Again, how do we know this? Do we have proof? There was no animosity with John O'Keefe, and there's no evidence of a physical altercation. Jackson says John O'Keefe looked like he'd been beaten in a physical altercation. The family is covering for Colin regarding being at Brian Albert's house, and they hid him for months from investigators. Now, knowing how Auntie Bev seems to really favor the prosecution, to the point that it seems like she's helping them out a lot. She tries anyway. I figured there's no way these videos are coming in. There's no way these videos are coming in. She let them in. I was so excited. I was so thrilled because Colin Albert in these videos is the shithead that I was waiting for to show up on the stand. Have you ever heard of code switching? Like the way you talk, like you can talk all proper and everything, and then you can put on like your gangster attitude, voice, whatever. That's this kid. On the stand, he's just this clean-cut, innocent little wouldn't hurt a fly kid, right? In these videos, he's drunk and being obnoxious to the advantage boys, and I'm like, that's the Colin that I was expecting. That's the Colin they're hiding. That's the Colin they're trying to protect, not this little Weasley kid on the stand. And it was funny because they had asked him, he's wearing 2 different shirts in the videos, but he said it could have been the same night because he changes his shirt often. When he said this, it was the second day on the stand. The kid was wearing the same shirt as he was the day before, except it looked like he had borrowed his dad's, like, Mr. Rogers sweater. He had on some kind of, like, Izod alligator pullover over top of the shirt, but it was the same shirt. And I'm like, you didn't change your shirt in 2 days, but I'm supposed to think you changed your shirt twice in one night? Okay, kid. Okay. All right, so we get back to Cross, and Jackson is talking to him about being in a fight. He says he has never been in a fight, and then he shows the Advantage Boys video, which I'm going to show you now.
Yo, your Advantage Boys, I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
That's Colin. That's Colin, in my opinion. That's the real Colin. July of 2023, he said the videos were in his junior or senior year in high school, 2021 to 2022. Now he says it was his sophomore year. He agrees threats were made. He says he was going to beat them up. Jackson's like, no, you said you were going to beat their asses. He says yes, because he's trying not to cuss in front of the jury. Colin is. He's trying to keep it very PG. Next, he shows the Bang Bang video. So here, I'll show you that one.
You're a bitch, bro. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, you pussy.
Clean cold, boy. You be knocked out. KO. Bang, bang.
That is so cool. Cocky. Scary, right? Whatever. Punk. Okay. Sorry. I swear to you guys, I'm trying to stay very neutral in this case, and I'm trying to come at it like a juror that doesn't know anything, and I'm taking the evidence as it comes. But from what I saw in those videos, I'm like, this kid is a punk. This kid, we've all seen this kid, right? I raised 3 teenagers. We know this kid. You know, he's a cocky, he wants to be a tough guy, but maybe he really hasn't ever been in a fight. But he's sure talking big like he could be in a fight, right? We all know this kid. You've seen him somewhere. So they show that video. He says KO equals knockout, and he was threatening to kick their ass. July of 2023, he had the busted knuckles at the hearing on his right hand, and he's right-handed. On redirect, this was really funny. Allie, bless him, he tried so hard to get him to agree with him on this question. He asked it 6 ways from Sunday, but Colin says Allie didn't discuss with him anything about sequestration or talking to other witnesses. He's like, no, we didn't talk about that. And he, was like, I didn't tell you that you shouldn't discuss your testimony with any other witnesses. No, I don't remember. No. Okay. So he says that he saw Trooper Proctor 5 or 6 times, but he hadn't seen him in years since he was 11 to 13 years old. He says that he's been to Proctor's grandma's house a few times and would see him then. He was 8 or 9 when he was in the wedding, but he has no memory of it. His family is close to Courtney Proctor, not Michael. He says the text gap between him and Allie is because of using another app, and that he switches between messaging apps with all of his friends. Now, I know my kids, they text, Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, all of that. But they kind of use them all at the same time. They don't just completely say, okay, we're not going to text anymore. We're only going to talk on this app. Maybe it's different with Colin and his friends. I don't know. In February, he says he slipped on the ice when he slid down the driveway on his knuckles. In July, he hit the heavy bag with no wraps on his hands. He considers himself an athlete. February 26th at Fenway Johnny's, in that photo, he said no one forced him to take the photo. And, he wasn't trying to hide his injuries. He says the videos were sophomore year when he was 16. The Advantage Club hockey team are the same age as him. He didn't know them. And this was an argument that was going back and forth between them. They got texts calling them pussies. Apparently, girls in their friend group had hung out with the Advantage boys once. And then the guys in the friend group got a little salty about it, he said. And that's what that was all about. He says that he hasn't been thinking about the case until people started writing about him online, and that it's been a very terrible year and a couple months, and that he never saw John O'Keefe on January 29th. Now, to give you an idea of his sanitized testimony, as Jackson put it, I'm going to let you watch this video of him describing the harassment that he's been receiving.
It started when people on Twitter, Instagram, social media were just coming at my family, calling us murderers, harassing us, showing up to our doorsteps, our sports games. I mean, we couldn't leave the house without people taking pictures of us, and it's very terrible.
It's very terrible. And I'm sure it is, because like I said, nobody deserves that. I'm not advocating for anybody to go and harass anybody. It's not okay to go real life on people. It's not okay to harass them online either. Even though he says he's not on social media, but he's getting harassed on social media. Whatever. But I want to know what you think about the Allie alibi. Do you think maybe the 1210 was when she was taking him from Michael's to the Alberts? Maybe. And then the Life 360, in fact, does work correctly. And she did go somewhere after 12:30. And it was probably to pick him up and take him home. And then she was home by 1:30 and didn't go anywhere else. Or do you think Life 360 was accurate up until 12:30, and then that 1 to 1:30 time, it just went crazy and said she went somewhere and she didn't? What do you think about the 2 commas and no at? Do you think that the text messages have been faked somehow? Just what do you think of all of it? What do you think of Colin's testimony? Do you believe Allie? Do you believe Colin? I don't know. I know Colin was at that house. And he's not denying he was there. It's just a matter of when was he there, and nobody saw this kid leave. That's why I said he has like a cloak of invisibility, because people saw him there and then they just didn't see him again. He just disappeared. He was there and then he was gone and nobody saw him leave. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe he has superpowers. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Canton. We have a Jeep that some people can see and some people can't. A kid that nobody sees leave. We've got butt dials. I mean, the Brian and Nicole Albert butt dial brings like a whole new meaning to booty call. You know, these people can butt dial, they can answer a butt dial, they can hang up a butt dial, all with their butt. It's crazy. I don't know. But let me know what you think. And next time we will be getting into Matt McCabe's testimony. I'm sorry we didn't get caught up this weekend, but the way I'm feeling, it's just, it didn't work out. But tomorrow's the only day of court next week, so we will for sure be able to catch up because, I mean, what else are we going to do? We don't have the trial to watch, right? So next week we will be caught up. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Give this a thumbs up, please. Share it, like it, subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you here. And I want to hear what you have to add to the discussion. All right, everybody have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.